Good day. Today we're going to be talking about how to animate our arbor press. And in our last video we talked about how we can apply drive constraints to objects to make them move. And so now what we're going to do is take that drive constraint, animate it along with adding some cameras and lights to get some shadows and kind of get an idea of how that works, along with materials, or at least colors, to create a photorealistic animation. So we'll find under the Environments tab, uh, next to the stress analysis and frame analysis and dynamic simulation, which is pretty uh, pretty amazing of what you can do. We'll find Inventor Studio. You'll also have the cable and harness and tube and pipe capabilities, how to run tubing, cabling, um, convert a drawing to a welding drawing, and so forth. But Inventor Studio is what we're focusing on. And so in Inventor Studio, the tools that you have, obviously you have the rendering capabilities, you've got the abilities to create cameras and lights, then we have the ability to animate objects. We can fade objects in and out, we can constrain, or we can animate constraints, animate parameters, which is a spreadsheet of data. So if you're driving your movements through a spreadsheet linked, you can then animate those parameters, which is kind of interesting. We can also do position, and then animate our camera also, and lights, so we can actually turn lights on and off in the animation and things like that. So it's kind of cool. So what we're going to do is we're going to open up the animation timeline. And so the animation timeline, when it's open, and then over on the right hand side we've got the collapse action editor. A lot of times you'll open the animation timeline and it's here. We actually want to open up the editor also, because we want to see what's going on below the actual animation. All right, so let's talk about animating the object. So we know that with this object we are animating using a drive constraint. So I typed in drive constraint angle as my animation constraint. And so we're going to utilize that as the tool. So we're going to animate the constraint. So we'll pick constraint, select, and I'll pick in the browser the actual drive constraint is the object that I'm animating. So we're going to go from 140 to, I'm going to put 0 in and see what happens. And it's going to go over a total time of 15 seconds. So now, if you think about it, video today runs at about 30 frames per second. So a 30-second video, which is what we've got here as a potential 30-second video, would have 900 separate frames to render. So we're going to do about a 15-second video, and that'll have half that, or about 450. So we'll hit OK. And you can see now in our animation timeline we've got two things going on here. Actually, it's two objects that are moving. And it stopped at the 15-second mark. We're going to slide it back to 0. And so we'll hit the play button. And you can see that it moves pretty slowly. We can also accelerate this. So it's also one of the things that the drive constraint can do, is accelerate and decelerate the movements. And so 90 gets us to about, or 0 gets us to about halfway. And we have to stop the animation and reset it back to 0. We're going to go ahead and edit. So I right mouse click on the timeline, and we're going to edit this drive constraint from 0 to about negative 90. We'll choose OK. And now when things happen like this, when the object moves in the wrong direction and you want it to get reset, the easiest thing to do, I hate to say this, there isn't any way to refresh the screen quickly. So I just say just finish the Inventor Studio and then reopen it. You don't lose anything when you reopen the Inventor Studio. It puts it back in the starting spot. But the nice thing is that it automatically sets all that information. And so that 90 degrees, or that negative 90 or the negative 120 is now set. And so what we'll do is we'll reset this time back to 0. And it didn't, and at 15 seconds here, and I can actually type it in or I can slide it. It's almost there, but not exactly. So we're going to need to edit that once more. And right now we're at -90. We're going to go about a -110. So minus, whoops, 2 minuses will get us red. 110. If it's not right, it'll be red. If it is correct, it'll stay black. And it's going to go from 0 to 15 seconds. So it'll stop about there. So it'll be just about perfect. All right, so we've got the animation done. And so the other thing that you see here is I've created a camera. So this is camera view, or this would be camera 1. And we're going to go ahead and create a second camera also. But if you want to take a look and see what camera 1 looks like, this is what camera 1 looks like. And so let me move the animation timeline out of the way. Just slide the animation timeline. That'll give us kind of a medium overview. So we're going to create a second camera. And we're just going to go ahead and hit the home view here. We're going to create a second camera, which is going to be kind of a close-up camera. And so we're going to come over to the camera tool, which is on the top row here, and choose camera. And it wants to know where is the camera going to target. So where's the point that the camera is going to be watching? And so we're going to be watching about here. So we're going to put the target about there. Then it wants to know where the position of the camera is going to be. And so where is the position of the camera? And it doesn't really matter because we're going to use the glymph, which is the red, green, and blue arrows, and that's X, Y, and Z. And we're going to move it to the position that we actually want to focus on. And so I'm going to zoom this out just a little bit here. And we can also rotate the camera all the way around so it's face up because it was upside down. And if we want to see what the camera 2 looks like, we can't do that until we actually place the camera, but we can always go back and edit it. So I am now looking at this camera. Let me spin this around. Sorry about that. We're going to get an angle about here. It's always best to get an angle which is slightly above the object that you're shooting. You get a little bit better perspective. And our target is slightly off also. So we're going to need to move this target. And so I can actually grab the camera, I can slide it in and out. I can do a variety of different things. When I'm finished, we'll choose OK. And we're going to go ahead and pick the target, and we're going to readjust this target a little bit. Oh, it wants to create a new camera. Sorry. We want to cancel that. So let's go ahead and try this camera thing again. Camera, target. So it actually wants to target a flat surface. And then the camera will work on that flat surface. And then we'll edit the camera position, and we got to rotate this. Let's go ahead and change this angle so I can see what's going on. All right, we're going to move it this direction. Grab the end of the arrow. Grab the end of the arrow here. Grab this back. And it's either going to be really interesting or it's going to be really interesting when we do this. So I need to slide this out, slide this back, and slide this up a little bit. And let's go ahead and check out the angle of view. All right, so that's actually going to be pretty interesting. And slide this out a little bit farther. And slide this back. Oh, we don't need to rotate. Perfect. I think that's going to be a good view angle from here. So it's going to be kind of more of a zoom angle. All right, I like it. We'll choose OK. And we'll choose OK again. We can control the field of view, which is kind of like the zoom, how close we're going to be. And that's going to be a little bit more magnified. So it's going to be about 34-degree angle. So let's take a look and see what camera 2 looks like. Wow, camera 2 is upside down. That's going to be a problem. So we're going to need to edit camera 2. So we can open up the camera listing in the browser bar, right mouse click, and we can edit the position of camera 2. And I need to zoom out, select the object, and since we were totally upside down, I'm going to go ahead and rotate this to 180 and choose OK. Choose OK. That didn't really help. So we'll edit camera 2 again. So I just rotated the object around the wrong icon. To change the angle of view, just roll the camera 180 degrees. And you'll get the right side up view. Okay, so now we've got both of our cameras set, and we're going to, well, Video Producer is what we use to animate camera 1 and camera 2 so we can tell it when we want camera 1 shot and when we want camera 2 shot. So what I think we'll do is go camera 1 for 4 seconds, camera 2 for 8 seconds, and then camera 1 to wrap it up, kind of a deal. Or maybe we can go camera 2 to start, and then camera 1, and then back to camera 2. So we can do one or the other, and that's what the Video Producer does. So it allows us to animate the different components that we've created. So the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and create what is known as a spotlight. And the same thing occurs like a camera. We have to place a target. Let's choose spot. We want the spot on, and we want to choose a target for the spotlight. And so we're going to pick the pin as our target and the location of the spotlight. And you can see there's a couple of circles. So this inner circle is the hot spot, and the outer circle is the fall off. And so what we're going to need to do is edit these, because this happens to be a hot spot that we want to change the hot spot, which is direct shadowing, and then the fall off is illumination. And so let's change our position, same position movements that we had before. Use the arrows to move up and adjust our target position. Okay. It didn't go as well as I had planned. And as it happens, things don't always work well. If we move this up, the target should have stayed put with the light. And so I'm going to need to change the target position. That is so odd. That is so very odd. Okay. So let's try this over again. We're going to delete this and try this target and position again. So we want to target this. And the light is just all over the place. So let's cancel that. So we do have a light and we do have lighting, or actually we just canceled the light. So let's create a local light, a spotlight. Spotlight, I've got hot spot and fall off. It wants us to place a target, which is going to be, I'll place it on the back surface. The spotlight itself is going to be up above. And again, the farther away the light is, the less light you'll see. because it takes more illumination to accomplish it. And again, I can control the spotlight effect and control the fall off. And so the hotspot and fall off, if you think about that, it's kind of like a street light. You've got the highly illuminated area around the street light, but then the farther that you get away from a street light, you still have some illumination, but it's nowhere near as bright. With the spotlight, we can also control these positions and by XYZ positions and so forth. All right, so now we've got a spotlight also, and we can animate the spotlight in the video producer. So let's go ahead and turn the video producer on. And we can animate the spotlights. We can do a few other things. So we want to drag the camera onto the shot of the timeline. So we're going to first drag the camera shot here. And the cool thing is I want to do this for about 4 seconds, about 4.5 seconds for camera 2, camera 1. And so camera 1's going to go about 5 seconds, and then back to camera 2 for the duration of our video, which is going to be to 15 seconds, which is what we're moving. Okay, so now we've created the video producer. Camera 1 to camera 2, camera 2 to camera 1, and then back to camera 2 to wrap it up. So we're going to be able to see a couple of different angles and views. All right, let's go ahead and reset this. We'll close the video producer. The only other thing I wanted to do was edit this timeline. So if we edit the timeline, and these are the animation options, the length of the animation is going to be 15 seconds. So instead of 30 seconds, I'm going to say 15 seconds. And the other cool thing that I can do is I can choose that it's going to ramp up faster. So instead of 20%, I'm going to go 40%. So let's specify the velocity. So 40% and 80%. Oh, it's got to equal 100. So that's going to be 80. That's going to have to ramp down to 5. That'll be 15. We'll say this is 50, and that'll be 40. We'll say this is 60. 35, 60, that. Cool. We'll choose OK. So what's going to happen now is that this should ramp up a little bit faster as we go. So it's now hitting top speed and then working from there. And so that works out really well. All right, let's see what we can do. We can also animate the light. So the light we can animate. And so the animation of the light is going to be, start is going to be 10 seconds. Let's specify the start is going to be 10 seconds duration, and the end is going to be 5 seconds. And the definition is we're going to turn the light on, or we can turn the light off for that 5 seconds. So we'll see what happens here. I'm going to turn the light off the last 5 seconds, and we'll choose OK. All right, so now we're ready to actually produce this animation. We've got the video producer created. Again, that video producer allows us to see the cameras or edit the camera views. We can then go and choose the render animation. So render animation gives us the ability to create high definition or different productions. We can also, through the video producer, render out using the record animation button. And so if we do that, same thing happens. We're in the same window as render animation. The general is going to be a 674 by 852. Current lighting, and I can choose different lighting packages. Cool light, country road scene, gray room, this is primarily background and lighting component. So again, infinity pool, a little bit different. If I gray room, it'll change you can see the spotlight occur here. So it'll look pretty cool when we do this. The output that I'm going to create is going to be stored it's going to be stored. We're going to select the choice here. Let's go ahead and delete this. 17. T for the movement, space. And we've got the different same file types. So we've got a window media file. We have an AVI file. A Windows media file works really well on Windows systems, but not so much on Apple products. And AVI will work on all products and is seamless. So I'm going to choose AVI. Notice that there are no options, and we'll hit save. So we're going to output to an AVI file. It's going to output 15 seconds, because that's all I need is the 15 seconds. I can output the entire production or just that. The format is not going to be an image sequence. It's going to be a video format. No preview, no rendering in the preview. I can launch a player afterward. Frame rate is 15. I can choose up to 60 frames per second. 15 is going to be a little bit slower, but it's fewer frames that we have to render, and that's ultimately the cool thing. Okay, so the render duration is going to be total render time, render by iteration. High mode, Gaussian is the filtering or anti-aliasing, and anti-aliasing are these little bumps here along the edge. The higher the value of our anti-aliasing and the different tools that we use will control that edge and how smooth that edge is. For ours, it's not going to be that. I'm not going to worry too much. I'm not going to increase it. The more that you increase it, the larger the file size gets, and it's more difficult to deal with. So let's go ahead and just choose render. Okay, so we've returned. We've got it pretty well set again. I'm going to save it this time to make sure that we save where we happen to be. That was painful. Okay, so now what we're going to do is render out the animation. We'll choose video producer. I still need to produce the video here. So we're going to start with camera 2. We'll edit this out to about 4.5 seconds. Back to camera 1, which will be about 8 or 9 seconds. So we'll go up to about 10 seconds, 11 seconds, and then we'll drop camera 2 back in on the timeline, slide this over, and this one will go out to 15 seconds, which is our limit, which is what we've set. We'll then go ahead and hit save again, and render animation will output to an AVI file. I'll just do out to the desktop here, change the file name here to clean that up. Change it to an AVI file, hit save, and then we'll hit render. And we're going to render out 15 seconds. So the time range is the entire production. I don't need to specify a time. I just want it to do the whole entire production. And we'll hit render. And it should start. Oh, it crashed. So we're in the middle of rendering our animation, and so we've got iterations that are completed, and what's going to happen here is that it's actually going through 2 out of 226 frames, so it's going to take a while to render. And what this does is this includes the shadowing, and there's some pixelation, and as it goes through the iterations it cleans up the pixelation of the shadows and so forth, and so it's going to be a while. So I thought I'd just shoot this little concluding segment and share with you what it looks like as it's going through that rendering process. The original crash that I ran into was definitely a driver issue that I had on my computer system. That was a driver conflict with rendering out to an AVI. I probably needed a different processing tool to accomplish that. And so this will go through like 20 something iterations, 21, 22. There'll be a little bit of pixelation in the back, but it does clean it up, and once it's finished processing, it'll be smooth and look pretty good. Well, that's about it for rendering and animation, and have a great day.